it has become increasingly annoying, this ongoing polarization of the world on East and West, while we don't have answer neither on one side of the equation, neither on the other side of the equation. I mean, there is different definition of 2 zeros today. It's now not 007, but it is 070, actually, this position. It reminds to ego, if we understand that the wings are actually at the moment in ambition to become self-standing particulars of what would be then invisible central body. I mean, they sincerely believe in such kind of model of the planet, and today we need to investigate how far that can go, that illusion of theirs, either of the West Wing or of the East Wing, continuing to balloon their performances while actually nothing can be worked out. I don't know very well, I think increasingly they have become aware that it is not going to be them that are going to work it out. I think that at this stage we have all realized that this planet actually configurates nicely into one protocol, because it is, for all of the historic development that happened there, simply have become interdependent rather than self-standing. You can monitor the planet as one event, that is where the development would be recognized somewhere from Far East countries, gradually reaching certain kind of maximum of overall civilizational development. I would argue somewhere at the stage of Renaissance, where I would argue that either expressionism, that is music, artistry in general, performance, became reaching its a very developed stage, either in its inspiration, in its capacity, its talent, or in a capital invested to support such talents that delivered such kind of grandiose performance of art, music, and nothing less of science. Science equally developed to greater proportions. Written texts developed, theaters developed to such proportions that one would say, is it possible anything to happen after Shakespeare? Is it possible anything in the world of making pictures? Is anything to happen after Leonardo? Is it possible anything in music to happen after Mozart? You know, you have that feeling that we as a civilization at some point have reached certain, or architecture, for example. Can anything happen after what was accomplished in the Renaissance? And you have impression that the only way to go from there is to start going down the hill. While we actually usually project the development as constantly going in some kind of constantly rising direction, in some kind of 45-degree angle, I'm not sure that we can talk about something like that. I think we rather talk about cross positioning, that is horizontal and vertical point. And that is how we should understand actually this universe. Having the deploy of something is equally something that we should be talking about, because when you accomplish such kind of great accomplishment or whatever, you also need to deploy it successfully. It is not just about reaching that point of creativity. The challenge is also to actually employ it in the lifestyle and employ it in the civilizational terms, and then becomes civilization, which then becomes horizontal matter of something lasting or everlasting. we talk eternity, you have such notions of some kind of permanency, when they can last very long, and life can be very long. And that is obviously the point of when you accomplish ultimate manifestation of your capacities, and when there is hardly, and when there is nothing left that would be wow factor, or would be, as they want to talk in healthy eating nowadays, about a glucose sparking. Well, our civilization, we continue to expect that our civilization should look like glucose sparking. And we should now accept that civilization should not look like that. That it should be much more steady and much more on the level of correct answers than on the level of ecstasis and answers. As how still we perceive today development, right? Well, even the word development suggests that you are expecting still some kind of sparks, explosion of sparking to happen. And even in fashion industry now, one is to argue, is there anything else that can happen after Chanel, after Dior, after Gucci, after Armani, and whoever else in that playada that have already done it? Is it possible that someone can do for a woman more than what Chanel has done, for example? Or is it possible to speak in fashion about anything else? Or after jeans was invented in America, in USA, for that kind of population? So what kind of sparking, what kind of development we are talking about? And we are expecting to be such, you are still measuring. Today, I'm afraid that still certain economic realization, or even life or measurement of economy, continue to be measured by the spark in development rather than to be tested by different kind of criteria. And that is how that development actually deploy across the territory in certain political framework, as it is nation or as it is a region. Because if we do not reach that level of self-awareness, the development is development only when it looks like a development, then we are cheating on the notions and the meaning of the notions. I say America was number one country, developed country in the world, but you go in America and you have homeless people. You have such a harsh problem of population that is out there having the most basic problems of survival. But you are still using expression, the most developed country in the world. It is time that we change the criteria how we are going to assess development. I think it's cheating to use that reference, that word anymore as a reference to development, when you have such extreme poverty and extreme problems not solved on your territory. You simply do not qualify to be called developed. The criteria of what means development will need to be improved. It is time that we continue faking a civilization, that we stop faking a civilization, and then also end up believing that we are a civilization. And then we derive criteria of what is civilization upon where we are, rather than to set the standards and then measure ourselves versus it, because that is basically how any development is happening. By recognizing what's there to be improved, setting your goals, and then trying to get there, then it is development. Now, these goals and their standards will need to be reset each time, each new time, in more correct terms. We cannot use obsolete goals defined in obsolete ways. No any industry is doing something like that. Why on earth our political thinking and our mainstream civilizational thinking still is using old-fashioned criteria about definition of national development? You see, in last century, when that social revolution happened, at least something here was changed in that on that ideological level. The bar of what means development was set higher. It was about well-being of all of the nation. Not that turned to be just well-being of the working class now. That was sabotage. But I'm talking about the real intention. The real intention was that all of the society find itself existing on better lifestyle. And then they have been talking about communism, where they have been projecting that as a result of ongoing development of technology, it will be reached a time where there will be no need of people, there will be no need of physical workers or no need of workers, but the economy will still be there, the profit will still be there, and then the question will be about distribution of the profit. So today, again, we are not identifying correctly the problem. The problem is not industrial, it's not automation of industry and the fact that we don't need to go at work. That's not the problem. That's good news. The problem is the distribution of profit is not happening correctly. And that is what in socialism, that is where socialism revolution happened on these parameters in discussion. The accent in socialism should have been, and it was equally, on distribution of profit. And that is why they needed to go down capitalists, because it was not possible to negotiate with them. And because intelligence was more of their sons and daughters, automatically they became washed out. However, what happened aftermath, that is empowering working class, and instead to talk about redistribution or distribution, end up talking about empowering working class. The socialism lost its subjects, lost its ideology, lost its properly crafted textbook by setting wrong goals. It became a question who is going to be a power, who is going to be decision-making center, who is going to be owner, and all ended at the point of ownership rather than at the point of distribution of commonly or nationally generated profit. And obviously it was like that because in previous century the technological development was not kicking off that sharply. It was not changing drastically anything that much. Electricity was solidly invented at the beginning of the century. There was no some kind of, and we are talking about age before computerization where socialism happened. After war, therefore, electricity was solidly there. Socialism started to evolve after war, after Second World War. Electricity was there, stable technological development, and people were not that much tormented with thinking about conditions of communism, where people would not need to go at work anymore. And so they were not bothered with these kind of questions. They were bothered, obviously, with distribution of power and ownership, rather. Because last century, especially after Second World War, majorly was all about controlling the power, distribution of power. It was all about some kind of political muscling, and it went on national level as well. Subject become power, subject become ownership of resources. Now we are finally reaching the real question and where actually this entire development is going to bring us and what is going to be our real question. And that is when technology kick off that much that we don't need to go at work anymore. How we are going to distribute the profit so we will continue to be paid as we are going at work, because that's the actual event here, that you continue to be paid or provided as when you're going at work. You continue to get the salary as when you're going at work, because for the money that they are not going to give you as a salary, they're going to give you as a income while you are at home, and that is sharing of the profit. So it is not here, it is wrongly understood, the technology that Nikola Tesla or whoever of the scientists and all of the previous scientists have done it just for Elon Musk, Donald Trump, and few other people. Well, no, any scientist have been doing science just because of Donald Trump and his family and a couple of few other billionaires. Not any scientist would have do any technological development because of just few people. And that is why these few people do not have right to call themselves owners of that profit and that income, because they are owners of the resources of the planet, because they are not the owners of the resources, and there cannot be such premise as owner of resources. In other words, planet cannot be in ownership, neither resources can be in ownership of anyone but humanity itself. The main question becomes distribution of profit and who is going to get how much. And here, of course, the main criteria would be, as it would have been in any active company, what would be the contribution or the measurement of contribution of people that have been sent home. What would be their profit, their salary? What would have been their salary? Because they would be expected to contribute in the system in some different ways. And now we are reaching that stage where we are adjusting. Some old positions are being closed up, but no one is talking that some new positions are being opened up, because there is need of new positions, because these new systems will need new positions. And we don't talk about here artificial intelligence, and it cannot be artificial intelligence if there are not that many people employed, sitting from their homes, by the way, that are being paid to develop the artificial intelligence. That is to equal as that many people are working and developing Wikipedia, right? Well, it is wrong to say that these people are not supposed to be paid for it. And excuse me, but that's the thing about this technological new era, that you have to think differently. Now, these people are supposed to be paid because it is shifting. The way how we perceive employment is shifting. And what I do also is supposed to be paid because technology is allowing this to happen. Accordingly, technology is shifting. I have lost my place as accountant assistant, but I have gained my place as advisor of United Nations. And you cannot go away with not paying me for what I do, but then you have some kind of billionaires and trillionaires out there. You see, what is not rational here, that you continue to think that they are billionaires or trillionaires because they have earned it. No, in fact, they have not earned it, and it is not theirs. It is that they're just not paying other people. And they owe now that salary to other people, because it is nothing of theirs to take. There is no such thing as billionaires. I mean, you cannot have billionaires because it doesn't make sense, because no living person can spend that much money for a lifetime. Accordingly, it's pointless and meaningless that you attach such large amount of money to one person. It is ludicrous. It is not rational. And we as a civilization end up not to be rational civilization. And then you can't call something like that civilization if it is not rational. Civilization cannot afford not to be rational and then to be called civilization. Which means that at the moment we are not living a civilization, we are into negative. We are going into negative. We are anti-world, antipode, anti-development, because something there we are not doing correctly, because something we have not understood correctly. And what we have not understood is also that actually socialism in last century happened as a worldwide event, as a worldwide stage where one good percentage of intelligence found itself developing, and where mind of a human goes somewhere, the mind of a human goes somewhere. And you are only going to waste time thinking that you're still living early age of capitalism, where actually socialism and ideology of socialism happened, and that cannot be denied. It's already happened, thousands of pages written, and thousands of pages and thousands of people arguing these ideas. That happened on all the sides of the territory of Russia, all the sides of territory of China, all the sides of territory of Eastern Europe. And that is not going to be erased because it happened just few decades ago. There is not even 1 century passed since these ideologies emerged. I'm still living the times of such schools. We are all, my generation, educated by such schools. We are still living here, and we are still talking, and I'm still leading this conversation with Earth, and I have been born and grown in socialism country. And that is what you have to notice, and what you have to realize. Who is talking to you today is socialism ideology. It is socialism happening right now, in the era of intelligence, in era of political, philosophical, in arena, in area of ideological, political, philosophical thinking. Socialism ideology is not back from the future, but it is actually dealing with the future still. As much as certainly I needed to spend some time reflecting on capitalism because we have not studying it that much, and it was for me rather unknown arena. And certainly I found myself a bit like in a Disneyland park, as one would suggest, since born in socialism. After going through that initial time that I needed to grasp in order to understand how all of that function, as you can see, what is getting on the surface is assessing the functioning of the society as overall, because, well, that is what the state is, but state exists for the purpose of nation, not for the purpose of couple of billionaires. A state, the purpose of state is existence of nation. And if you get as a final result rewarding just couple of millionaires and billionaires, you have not realized the primary definition of state. You simply have not realized it. The measurement here is not going to be the profit of Donald Trump and likes. The measurement is going to be the lifestyle of a nation. And then we are going to talk about hierarchy, of course, but how much of a hierarchy a nation can afford, and how much of repeating one's name every day a nation can afford without allowing yourself to be devaluated and reaching ground zero at some point, or completely melting down, as USA is today melting down under the fate of the entire planet, because USA continued to devalue itself by promoting wrong political leadership. If political top of USA is not intelligent, USA is going to continue to slide down, as that is how humanity today is being measured for quite some time. Humanity, since Renaissance onwards, humanity has been measured by the size of intelligence, first and foremost. Economic development would be perceived as a confirmation of intelligent society. And if that is not the case, then you end up to be agricultural society, and no one is going to be that much admired or even you're not going to be respectful, because you're not by criteria of how we measure human society and human realization in 21st century. If you're not enclosing yourself as intelligent being and as intelligent nation, you're not going to be respected. It goes as on personal level, it goes on national level. It is completely same. What kind of individuals are respected in societies today in 21st century? That is same criteria for a nation as well. You don't bring enough intelligent caste in USA is going to lose it. Forget about money. No one is going to value money of some kind of uneducated farmer or some kind of uneducated sausage maker out there or some kind of butcher. No one is going to give valuation to your culture based on money that are earned by your butchers out there. You're going to be called nation of butchers and you're not going to be respected. And no one is going to value your dollar. Now that is where we are. And if you do not wake up as soon as possible, Americans, you're going to simply be ignored and walked down. Because that is where we are now. Now let's return to the planetary discussion. And that is, we are solidly discussing socialism because we are in this kind of technological era and we need to provide, I'm saying we, that is Russia, China, Africa, Europe, both of Americas, and that is the world in large. All of the continents will need to provide today answers to the latest technological development. And we need to reflect on the political ideology of last century, where it has been properly prognosed and very correctly, very normally predicted. Because the intelligent people have been enough intelligent to notice what happened with Industrial Revolution at the beginning of last century in England, for example, in West. When machines got invented, how many workers and how many businesses previously established have been losing their jobs and have become unemployed. And then as the companies started to grow further, they started to employ people, obviously, with different skills. I was a bit more administration, blah, blah, blah. Now, such intelligent people have been monitoring that, and they have been projecting that as technology is going to continue to evolve, that's going to continue to happen in higher grade to the point that they have realized at the point of some kind of high level of automation, humans will not need to work anymore. Yet they haven't seen that as a negative news, equally as we don't see dishwasher or washing machine as a negative news. We are seeing it as a good news because we have more time, because women today have time to watch television or to read a book or to get educated, which women in previous time could have not afforded because women needed to physically be involved in maintaining family and women could have not afforded to be educated. Today we can talk beyond education. We can talk about our leisure time. We can talk about traveling more and more. People today traveling more and more. They continue even to think about place where they are going to live with much more flexibility. Today you don't think even that you are going to retire in the same country in which you have been working. The latest age of traveling and tourism is emerging out there. Not just tourism, but investment in other countries. A world has become one place again. And all of that is not necessarily bad news. You have more time to actually travel, to actually live your life, more time to be with your family, more time to pay attention to your lifestyle. People are healthier because they don't need to be locked 8 hours in an office where they can hardly have proper life, neither properly eating or properly, you can't properly breathe, you can't properly move, and it's unhealthy. And sicknesses have been much higher in previous times, where sitting on the chair 8 hours is not healthy event. So why on earth that's bad news? If it doesn't sound as bad news when you open your mind and think about humanity and overall lifestyle and development, you don't end up saying that as a good news. It is a liberation. It is not bad news. It is good news. The only problem it has become problem of distribution of profit, and that is where we need to be focused now. Additional problem is how much people, instead to be focused on real challenges and real problems, as it is therefore the social aspect of the society, as it is distribution of profit earned as a nation or as a company, as a business unit. How you're going to distribute the profit, which is the real question. People continue to be bothered with all of the negative scenarios and play some kind of Draculas out there, as obviously someone is blackmailing them or someone is enforcing them to continue to play some kind of Black Sabbath here. Can you just leave people alone, for God's sake? The expression is not correct. Can you just liberate these people from that destiny to chart them as a evil people, or as some kind of Draculas or vampires or I don't know what sort of blackness? Can you just stop stigmatizing people like that? And stop enforcing them to talk about black scenarios. We have a couple of issues, and you have bring that in with most sober attitude. The main problems therefore are, I'm going to list there just few of them. Number one, therefore, distribution of profit, which is now planetary question associated with increased productivity of production operations, which is liberating humanity further on and allowing human to be to have much more qualitative lifestyle, where therefore the expectation is that humans continue to be paid by the companies for what they would be paid if they were to work. That is the indicator. Skill still is going to matter, because the presumption is that these people are going to continue to be involved in society and to continue to engage their skill in societies in one way or another, either by writing this kind of analysis is what I'm doing. Many people are out there, bloggers, and already are earning good money out of it. So you can see that started to pay off. Technology started to bring different kind of professions, different ways of earning, and this communism kind of situation start kicking off. It is not completely yet, because the big companies, as it is power companies, that is electricity, water companies, or I don't know what else out there, big companies, headquarters of big technological, big earners companies are not distributing properly their profit. Their profit will need to be distributed properly. And of course the question is how you do that. And there are already different projects happening. Here, some of the projects were, as in New Zealand, promoted investing in some kind of in artificial intelligence, they want to call it, and then basically investing on the market and having such high profit. Now, I am not enough convinced as a starting point where exactly these monies are going to be invested and out of what I'm going to have that much of a profit. I have my doubts, because I can see war happening in Palestine, where that many businesses and private bank accounts are going to be dismantled and confiscated properties, and I would not like to earn money out of some people, out of misery and debt of other people. This money would be cursed monies, and I don't want to have anything with such money. I don't want no 1 cent to lay on my bank account of such monies. If we talk about money that would be liberated because really development of technology, how it was predicted communism to be that kind of society. If we are going to talk about communism and we start openly talking about that society, our society, as players of that society, if I am actively engaged in that kind of society, I will, of course, be accepting such investment, such financial configuration. But in the way how they are doing it today is not fair, it's not good, it's wrong. It is not how it should be done. That is not what communism is. That is not how communism should happen. Communism should happen in association with technological development. Bear in mind, that was clearly said within the ideology of Marxism. Properly said, when technological development is going to reach that state that there will be no need anymore for workers, for people to physically engage in production, and there will be excessive money produced therefore. We are talking about distributing. We are talking about the way how that profit is going to be distributed, and we are going to talk about much more egalitarian society as well, and that's their trajectory very easily is reaching some kind of heaven trajectory, because now religion comes here and people start implementing their own trajectory, very often getting into oblivion about how it should, all of that should be looking, rather than to keep the need here and carefully follow the line here of what really is happening, how it's going to happen, what are going to be challenges, and what are the exact steps that we will need to do here, rather than lose it at the end now and it becomes like lose end, and everyone have some kind of such freelance trajectory how that should be looking like, that end up to be not taken seriously. Now things should be much more concise, much more soberly understood, and more responsible, because these times are happening, landing. These trajectories were correct, and we have to be soberly admitting to these levels of political arguing, political thinking, not arguing but thinking. Therefore, how we are going to distribute the profit. There's absolutely no place that you end up return here to some kind of most prime biblical narratives of how people that are functioning, doing this kind of job should be treated, but you're ignoring Marxism, which was written just in last century. Now we are connecting to Bible, and that's okay. Now no one is scrutinizing Bible, but Marxism is like, black book. First of all, it's red book, not black book. Marxism is not black book. Marxism is red book, first and foremost. And you have not read it carefully. Now go at the chapter of communism. Read that chapter properly. Read the chapter of communism in Marxism, of Marx and Engels. Can you please read it? And then we're going to talk about it. Of course, I have to read it myself, as well as certainly it's worth it to extract everything. Although, one is going to say, and what mind is if not to think in the present time? Of course, it's always going to be good to reflect on the previous, where they stopped in the previous times. The fact is that we need to urgently do something here. We cannot allow to waste too much time in people having all of the wrong ways, all of the wrong answers first thrown on the table, and then if we survive, we are going to get after the correct answer. I really don't know why on earth we just don't throw on the table first all of the correct answers. Why we always need to start with all of the wrong answers? Why the worst scenario always going first? Because what we're living here is the worst scenario. Someone is throwing to us on table all of the worst scenarios. Why we are not starting first with the best? We have, Earthians, you have your question for today. Here it is, I'm enclosing the best scenario. Communism will need to be, the idea of communism will need to be, as it was started in last century, will need to be understood differently. I'm not talking about something used as a manual, as when you're reading manual in activating machine out there. I'm talking about paying attention to what some people have been thinking and what kind of trajectory they have been doing. Reevaluate that, take it into consideration, and then start thinking about it. And here it is, where I'm in closing, of course, and I insist on that fact that humanity is about humanity. And this, my constitution is going, I'm going to rather, I feel I'm more like enforcing it even. Because, well, sometimes equally as driving rules, you have to enforce them. Although it is positive event, you still need to enforce it over people. Equally when you need to tell them don't smoke, don't drink alcohol. It is don't, right? Well, it is don't doesn't mean it's negative. Just because it is don't. Or don't eat too much sugar, right? Well, it's negative expression, well, it's still positive idea. You have to have your don'ts into overall development. It cannot be all yes, and then you're a good person. And if you're don't, then that's a regime. Or if it is a don't, then it's a regime. I'm going to draw a line with regimes because people are free people. No, people, when they're free, they're a jungle. And when people are of yes and don't, then they are organized. Now let's recognize yes, now let's recognize don't. Properly. We can't take all of the money like gorilla, biggest gorilla on the planet. And then you do with money whatever you want. Now Elon Musk can drive as much more rockets as he wants. It's not going on a referendum. It is not. No. Clintons have been charged for $30,000. They have been scrutinized like gypsies on the streets. Now this kind of freak is flying rockets like a crazy monkey, and no one is questioning about from where he is getting the money. What kind of America that is? America of dumb, stupid people. Elon Musk is a dumb, stupid person. It is an idiot. It's completely lunatic. First of all, because he dared to think that he is entitled to such kind of spoiliousness as one person. Like what he thinks of himself, like he is that much of a big person. So he can afford to decide about something all by himself, and he is not ashamed even to show your thick face in front of television. So entire television can see the size of someone's idiocy and reckless behavior. So you can see actually the face of it as well. And someone is not going to dare even to show the face. And these people out there, these Americans, tolerating whatever falls on their heads. Because they will learn how to play suffrage their entire existence. Just suffer and suffer and suffer. Soft tissue. So anyone can walk over them and do whatever they want in their own country out there. Because they're too kind and too nice. And tolerate everything. And they tolerate even my shouting on a daily basis here. They tolerate some Trump out there, criminal Trump, like a womanizer, a freak, tolerating him to play a president. Only in America, something like that can be tolerated. What is the problem today is distribution of profit. And we need the best economists of the planet, economists, with Council and Office of United Nations. New World is about to be emerging anytime, any day, or from now. And we are going to discuss the communism. Because we reached the stage of such level of digitalization where there is no need of that many people to work. That does not mean that people are thrown like a garbage on the streets, to die, like some kind of excess of people. No, that is not what communism was talking about. Communism was talking about redistribution of profit. Redistribution of profit. Because now you don't need to pay salaries to these people. Well, excuse me, you will continue to pay them salaries. You will continue to pay them salaries. That is how it is. You send them home, you continue to pay them salary. Because they will continue to work as I have continued to work. I have not stopped working. I have continued to work. And you have to start paying me salary for this. Just sounds. Including accumulated, including the salary that you have not been paying me all of these years. Just sounds. Start calculating my salary. Now the rest of the economies, the rest of the businesses, all of the people that you have declared redundant and that have not found different other jobs, so that is all of the people that you have redundant out there, have sent them home as redundant. Elon Musk, and I like, hear me well here, that you start immediately to pay them salaries. And of course, to give them, to participate within this overall now computerized community, as it is Amazon selling of products via Amazon, or I don't know, all of that will need to be also by increased number of employees in the police as well, people that are going to be paid for it. It equally will need to be monitored. So internet cannot be criminal stage just because no one can monitor it. Yes, it can be monitored and it will need to be monitored. You just need different profile of people that are going to work in police. Police will still be there. That would be various regulatory departments. Just they will need to have different skills. That is, they will need to be restructured, different skills, and they will need to continue to be paid. Elon Musk and the rest, you have heard me well, start implementing it on the ground. The headquarters of the big companies in Ireland, you heard me well now, instruct now the big companies out there to start immediately implementing what I have just said. Immediately. And now I have explained to you what means communism now. So you understand it now. And now there is no need to talk about evil communists and to talk about them as some kind of bunch of piglets out there. Like, not reading manifesto, not reading the book, but then discussing something. You want to discuss something, you should have first read the book, which is happening in thousands of the pages, and most of the people would not have that much of a intellect, should I say, to read such text. Most of the people do not give even a damn. But they're very eager to go with their sausage sizzles and beers out there to play God indefinitely. And that is how Goody becomes God. With sausage sizzles and kriegel of beer. And you become God that knows everything and goes after evil communists. Especially when they come in red, you know they're certainly evil for sure. Right? Because it's one of the colors of the devil, right? I really don't know what to say to that. I think I'm going to call it narrow-minded and low-educated profile of people that accordingly cannot judge the humanity before understand it properly and before understand what that humanity has been doing all of these centuries and have done in the previous centuries as well, and what these people have been actually talking, thinking, and writing about. So open these books, hear me what I'm saying here, turn on your mind as well, and you're going to come to the same conclusion. There is no need someone to think that out of all of the technological development, only a few people are getting to survive, to be existing as a human beings, and the other are going to cease. No, any scientist is going to bring a scientific work on such conditions. That is not how this works. This event called humanity and this realm. It doesn't work like that. You're going in wrong direction. You're walking wrong pathway. And it's time that you stop it. Just stop it. I know that it might be that I will need to enclose. I really don't know how more specific I can be. Really, anything more specific will be actually actual working room, actual team of people, and actual time dedicated and devoted to subject matter. It is office on its own require high attention. Management of something is complex activity. It's not something you can do by laying on a sofa. End of discussion. You need executive office, because at this point becomes executive office. Distribution of profit of mega profit earner companies become executive office of managing, therefore, the economy in a society. It is therefore the chair of economic advisor, state level. And it's not just advisor, but regulatory, economic regulatory body, state level. Ladies and gentlemen, my verdict for today. State level today is also planetary level. Becomes also matter of planetary criteria or planetary practice of how we are going to understand state and how we are going to manage state.